Well, Donald Trump gets into a heated exchange over his tax returns today. It came this morning with George Stephanopoulos on Good Morning America. Mr. Trump laying into Stephanopoulos over the investigation of Hillary Clinton's emails and his relationship in the past with the Clintons.
I first asked you about this in 2011, and you said you would release your tax returns then. You were thinking of running for president. When President Obama releases his birth certificate, he did. Then you said you would release your tax returns when Secretary Clinton released her emails. She has turned over all the emails in her possession.
She didn't turn over all. There's plenty missing. I read yesterday where there are a lot of emails missing. I know she's a good friend of yours, and I know you worked for him and you didn't reveal it. But, you know, she did not turn over her emails. There are a lot of emails missing.
There were emails from her staffers missing. She turned over the emails she has.
Missing all over the place.
Let's get into it with Ellen Ratner, Bureau Chief for Talk Media News, and Judy Miller, Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative reporter and author, both of them Fox News contributors. It was just a fairly short exchange, and you know, haven't had time to digest it all, but who wins on that one?
Well, nobody wins, and in fact, what I would have liked to have seen George do, and I want to confess he's a friend of mine, I like the guy very much, but I would have liked to see him go after Hillary for her speeches and to make a deal with Donald Trump. Will you release your tax returns when she releases her speeches, and hold both of their feet to the fire?
Because the transcripts of those $225,000 speeches she's made to various Wall Street entities have been secret up to now.
Very secret, but we know they're transcripts.
All right. When he says, look, Stephanopoulos, you were the Clinton White House communications director for years, you know, it touches a sore nerve, doesn't it?
Oh, look, he also said that George Stephanopoulos had kept this secret, that he hadn't disclosed it. I think the entire world knows about George Stephanopoulos' prior work as communications director. I think what was a little more problematic that, of course, we heard about immediately after were the contributions to the Clinton Foundation. And for that, there was some talk within his network. However, this is vintage Donald Trump. Let us not lose track of what's going on here. Donald Trump is a bully, and he's going to go after the media. He's going to go after anyone who asks tough questions. And I admire Stephanopoulos for just honing in and not backing off. But we've got to prepare ourselves. Donald Trump does not like us. Hillary Clinton does not like us. We've got to just make sure that we continue doing what we do and ask those tough questions.
Here is a little bit more of his confrontation with George Stephanopoulos this morning on GMA. Listen.
When you're under audit, you finish the audit before you release. I have no problem. And it should be, and I hope it's before the election.
What is your tax rate?
It's none of your business. You'll see it when I release.
It's none of your business. I think there are a lot of people out there who hear that and say, yeah, you go, Donald.
Well, there are people that do that, for sure, and that is who he's appealing to. However, those of us in the press would like to see him release that, at least give us his tax rate, release something. We've gotten nothing.
No, when you are running for president, you do not have the right not to release your taxes. People have done it now. Candidates have done it for many, many years. Donald Trump knows he's going to have to do it. And as Timothy O'Brien, who wrote a book about Donald Trump, saying that he was not worth anything close to what he claims he's worth, and of course his whole campaign has been built around being a successful businessman, this is going to be painful. But yes, we've got to continue insisting on it.
Meantime, he's picking a fight with Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon.com. You know, put that online shopping service together, but also owns the Washington Post. And Trump is saying that Bezos is using the Post to protect the tax-free status of many of the purchases that you make on Amazon.com.
He may be. Let's all release our tax returns. As a friend of mine used to say, decide you're running for president at age 5 and live your life accordingly.
That would be very, very boring indeed. Look, once again, Bob Woodward said that the Washington Post had assigned 20 reporters.
He works for the Post.
Exactly. And he said he's in charge of investigations, and he said, we've got 20 reporters on Donald Trump's business dealings and life, and that was the signal that Donald Trump needed to go for the jugular, as he always does.
But for whatever reason, Donald Trump is fascinating people in a way that other potential nominees have not. Look at what happened yesterday during that meeting with Paul Ryan and various other Republicans on Capitol Hill. it attracted the kind of attention that the Pope did when he came to Washington.
Well, actually, I counted. I think there were less people than with the Pope in terms of press. However, I have to say this. The thing that people like about Donald Trump is the same thing they thought they liked about Barack Obama. You could invite him into your living room. They've already had him in their living room, and so they feel very familiar with him. He feels like somebody else in the family who might be very different at different times, but he's like them.
But, I mean, Judy, you know, love him or hate him, the media are fascinated with this guy, and they covered his every move on Capitol Hill yesterday.
Well, he made sure that we did $2 billion worth of free publicity simply by picking up the phone and calling us, always being available for interviews. And as Peggy Noonan said, this is a freak show unlike anything we have ever seen in modern campaigning. So, yes, of course it's going to get people's attention, but let's remember, 36% of the Republican electorate translates to about 11% of the general electorate.
Ellen.
But the other thing that's coming out is that did he, in the early 90s, pretend he was somebody that he wasn't, like his PR person?
Yeah, well, okay, that was 25 years ago, and I think a lot of people are not going to care about that.
But how about last week? What he said last week as opposed to this week. It's going to get interesting.
It will get interesting, and maybe that's why all of the coverage.
Absolutely.
Our media panel today, Ellen Ratner, Judy Miller. Thank you both.
Thank you.